In the third episode of the podcast, I shared with you some tips to have a first successful year while studying translation. Of course, you can apply most of them for any studies linked to languages, but yes, it was mainly about translation, but anyway, you got the idea. And one of the main tips was you should try to be up to date as soon as possible, because like that, when the blocus time will come, everything is gonna be ready. And in Belgium, the blocus time, blocus period, blocus moment, it's 2 or 3 weeks, depending on your university, that you have to just study for the exams. And it happens at the end of the semester and before the beginning of the exams. And during those 2-3 weeks, your time and every minute is very precious. And so if everything is done before that time, you just have to study what you've done, like summaries and vocabulary lists. Everything is done, so you just have to study them. But if you haven't done anything, you have to create those summaries and vocabulary lists during that time and then study them. So you kind of lose time. And I didn't apply that piece of advice to myself. I didn't do it. Of course, I've been to almost every lessons. The one I missed were because I was sick and there wasn't any episode of the podcast at that time. And I have always done the homeworks that we had to do. I've always studied for the Spanish test that we had, but that's it. I haven't done any summaries, I haven't done any vocabulary lists, anything. I haven't done anything. And that's a bit problematic, because that was the main tip of my episode 1.5 months ago. And I didn't apply it to myself. And the worst part of it is that I am aware of that problem. Proof of it, I'm recording a podcast about it right now. But I didn't do anything to change it. And yes, that's pretty bad. But I've got some, it's not really excuses, but I've got reasons why I haven't done anything yet. It's, well, mainly because of YouTube videos and Netflix series, but also I've had quite a busy student life, because I don't know how it was in your country last year, but at least in Belgium, everything was closed from October to May. So no parties, no bars, no restaurants, no clubs. Everything was closed during month, and the only thing you could do was going to a park or just go for a walk. That's it. But now, even though the COVID situation isn't that great, everything is open. So a part of me was like, right, you have to go to almost every party you can go to, because who knows, maybe it's gonna close again, or and you didn't do any of that. You didn't do any of that stuff last year, so do it now. So that didn't help, because even though I didn't drink that much during those parties and stuff, I wasn't in the mood of studying and, I'm gonna create a vocabulary list, blah blah blah. No. So yeah, that didn't help. But yes, I should really try to manage a bit better my time. And of course, going out, it's important for a student, but not when it potentially put at risk the success of your exams. And that's the reason why I'm recording this. First of all, maybe it's gonna help you, but also I hope it's gonna motivate me to know that out there on the YouTube and Spotify world, there is a podcast about me saying I should start to study more, and I should try to do it right now. I hope it's gonna motivate me, because for the episode I did about reading more books, it worked for me, so it should work too, this one. and yes, what else did I want to say? Oh yes, another reason why I haven't done anything yet, it's because for me, doing everything last minute, it has always worked for me. In primary school, in secondary school, and even last year at university, doing almost everything last minute and just a few days before the exams, it always worked. It has always worked for me, which is pretty good, but it's also problematic because, well, it's pretty stressful, and I don't think that on a long-term point of view, long-term moment, I don't know, I don't think it's a good thing for you to be always stressed. Maybe on the short term it can help, of course, but long-term wise, don't think so. Anyway, so it has always worked for me, and a part of my brain is like, well, it can work this year too. If it worked last year and you lost half of your blocus doing summaries, it can work this time too. Like, why wouldn't it work? That's the question. So yes, that doesn't help. And a good example for that, it's last year during the exams of the second semester, I had to study lots of vocabulary in Spanish. And even though the vocabulary lists were ready a few days before the exam, I just started studying them the day before the exam at like 5 or 6 p.m. and the exam was the day after at 9-10 a.m. And I remember sending an audio message to one of my friends saying, you know, I didn't start earlier because I know I've got the skills to pass that exam. Basically, I know I've got the skills, and of course some words are pretty complicated, but not all of them, and it's pretty easy for me to remember most of the words, so you know. And in the end it worked, because I've got better marks than some people who had been studying for weeks, and I did it the day before, and that reinforced that thing in my brain saying, you can do it the day before, of course it's gonna work, it has always been working, so it's gonna work here too. So yes, I guess that sometimes I'm a bit too overconfident about my skills, and I really think that being confident about your abilities and skills, that's very great, but being overconfident, sometimes it's a bit too much. and yes, it's good to be confident, but when you get to a point where it can maybe put at risk your exams, it's becoming to be a bad thing. At least that's my point of view. So yes, that's it. I don't remember if I wanted to say anything else, but well, thanks for listening, and I don't know if that can help anyone. Maybe it helped you realize you're not the only one in that situation. I don't know, but yes, really hope that this episode is gonna be the bingo moment for me, and I'm gonna be like, right, I'm gonna stop watching YouTube videos, or at least I'm gonna reduce, and I'm just gonna create some summaries and vocabulary lists. That's the goal. Yeah, the goal is everything done before the blocus moment. Anyway, hope that maybe helped, and you can maybe write a comment if you've been inspired, and if you're not, that's okay. Don't worry about it. See you next week. Bye. Right, yes, I remember what I wanted to say. Don't know if you're gonna listen to it because it's gonna be at the end of the podcast, but anyway, just wanted to say that, and it's linked to the title of the video, which is do as I say, not as I do. It's a lot easier to give pieces of advice and tips on the internet. Yes, it's very easy to do so, but applying them to yourself, poof, it's a lot harder. So yeah, don't know how that can be helpful to you, but yes, most people, most YouTubers and stuff, they can give you a lot of advice, but it's, well, probably they don't do that in their life. Well, at least that's what happened to me. I gave that very good advice, but in the end, I didn't apply it to my life, and I should have. But I've still got time. I've still got 3 weeks and a half. I believe in myself. I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna keep you updated. Maybe the first week of the blocus, it's gonna be about if I manage to do it or not, which is a new pressure I'm putting on myself, but I don't want to disappoint you, so yes, I am motivated, and now it's the real end. Yeah, do as I say, not as I do. Bye.